So my brother, he always tried to take advantage of him being the golden child, reducing me to be his servant. He told me if I don't watch after his children and be the babysitter, he's going to make sure that my life is horrible. Well, I found out a little secret that he was hiding from the family, and just wait until I tell Grandpa about what he's been up to with his wife. My brother and I never get along for as long as I can remember. Right from when we were kids, maybe it was a good thing, perhaps it was not. But the truth is that I always thought that with time we would fix our differences and become closer. That never happened despite all my efforts, and usually as a younger sibling you ideally look up to and even sometimes hero worship your elder siblings, even when they treat you nicely. Now imagine how it was for me, constantly feeling like I had to prove myself to be validated. I wouldn't say I hate him, but I most definitely dislike him for making my childhood a nightmare, and for always just being a jerk, even when I wasn't even in his business. Most people never understand why we were so cold towards each other, especially since it was just the two of us our parents had. They expected us to be inseparable because of it. They all had their expectations dashed because my big brother did not like me, and he never even tried to hide it. I had scars from when he would purposely shove me down. He would spit in my food and water and sometimes make me consume it. He practically shut me out and never associated with me at all, especially in school, and I once heard him telling his friends that I was not his sister, and even though we shared the same last name, that we weren't related because I was adopted. One thing about families with old money is that they take cases of illegitimacy very seriously. It's like an Achilles heel for most of them because they care too much about their public image. That was what broke the camel's back for me. People started to look and treat me differently, affecting my social life negatively. Nobody wanted to associate with me for most of middle school, and I always ate my lunch alone and sat on a bus seat alone, and nobody enjoyed me on their team during gym classes. Being the center of attention was painful, especially for all the wrong reasons, and very few people treated me like a natural person in school because my brother worked overtime to ensure my life was frustrating. I could not blame others. They saw my brother treating me like garbage, and he was supposed to be the one protecting me. Automatically, they all saw it as a pass to pick on me, and some even did it to impress him. Even though some people did not believe the rumor about me being adopted, it still spread solid and comprehensive, and in the circle of the rich people there, almost anything can make you an outcast. So many people treated me poorly based on whether or not they believed I was a natural part of the family. So the people who thought the rumors excluded me, this meant I sometimes never got invited to fun parties that the whole school went to. Even the few times I was given an invite, I always ended up sad and lonely at the events because nobody would even talk to me. Our family root started in Piedmont, Italy. It was not until 1949 before our great-grandfather moved to the US of A. Like most ambitious Italians, my great-grandfather plunged into different businesses and finally built up a successful construction and real estate company. It is also a family tradition that every male has to attend college and study any financial course, then come back to work in the family business and, if lucky, eventually become the head CEO. My dad was the most diligent and ambitious among his brothers, so it was no surprise when he got the highest position of the company. My brother was born just after my dad's promotion. While my brother's birth likely brought joy and celebration, mine did the absolute opposite. This is because my mom died precisely 5 minutes after I let out my first cry. Although my grandfather says she died of exhaustion caused by excessive blood loss, my brother had a different opinion on what happened. He believes that I was the cause of her death, and he had punished me for it every day. He says that I should not have been born. My dad, on the other hand, was so heartbroken as he didn't know how to care for 2 kids on his own. Due to his grief and straight-up confusion, he had to step down temporarily as CEO, and our grandpa had to assume his previous position as the head. According to my grandfather, none of Dad's other brothers needed to be more worthy to take care of the business. He only had faith in my dad alone. My grandpa, who was supposed to hold the position temporarily, eventually had it permanently, and only stepped down 2 years ago when my brother was appointed a new head of it. And this was because my father. He passed away less than a year after my birth from a car accident. He had been drunk driving on a highway. As usual, my brother had his version of what happened, and it always circles back to me being the cause, just like Mom. According to him, I killed our mom, and our father too, because he apparently could not handle the grief of losing my mom due to my birth. I was not a baby, a sister to him, and it was a terrible mistake. After my parents' death, we were moved to my grandpa's house, because there was no other relatives that wanted us in their home. My brother, who was 5 years older than me, always threw tantrums about almost everything, from the food to the seats to the kind of clothing that we had to wear and all of it. He claimed our house was better than Grandpa's and wanted to return home. These shenanigans often infuriated Grandpa, and he would be strict with my brother, and all this added to his hatred for me. At first, I would innocently try to win over him by sharing all my stuff, and I was always trying to prove myself to him from a young age. I wanted so badly to impress him, but nothing ever worked. Like I said, I could not believe that he hated me so much. All his friends hated me too, and I eventually got tired of trying. I spent all my time alone. I never left the house unless it was for school or something else. Whenever my brother got visitors, I had to lock myself in my room until they left because he specifically told me to. I had no issues with adhering to this after the one time he introduced me as the housemaid to one of his girlfriends. I knew that confronting my brother would, be useless. He knew what he did, and he did it on purpose. I was the clown at every party, and it got to a point where my grandpa had to send me to therapy. Leonardo even went as far as turning my only best friend against me. She had a crush on him too, like most of the girls at school did. Most of his circle of friends also inherited the hatred and detested me, just because my brother did. But you know what? Samantha was different. We met at a book signing event. Her father had brought her there against her will, and my brother was there as well, but he did not give her as much as a glance. But she kept stealing glances at him. It was pronounced that she liked him. At first, I just wanted to mind my business and go through the whole event without anyone spilling wine on my dress. But she turned and looked at me just as I took my eye off of her. I probably would have looked away, but then she waved at me. That was the beginning of our friendship. I initially thought she was just trying to get close to me because of Leo, but then I found out she enjoyed spending time with me, or so I thought. Due to Samantha's influence in my life, I started taking an interest in what she fancied. I started playing basketball because she loved it, and I found out I wasn't so bad at it either. Most times I would catch my brother watching us as we practiced at some home or school, and it was pretty unsettling. So, it was not long before Samantha told me Leonardo was hitting on her. I found it hard to believe that because my brother had never been interested in her. Maybe she was misconstruing his habit of watching us every time as something more. My brother had never really shown any interest, and Sam was not happy I did not believe her. She made it crystal clear she thought I was somehow implying that she wasn't good enough for him. I tried to explain that it wasn't that at all, and that I just found it hard to believe because my brother and I never liked the same things or the same person. She didn't understand me, though. Well, she soon started acting weird towards me, and I initially thought it was because of our little fallout, and I tried to apologize again, and she just waved me off. I was back to feeling lonely again, and I began to understand what was going on the day I saw her, and my brother holding hands on the school bus. I was 14 then, and my brother was 17. Was I jealous? I don't think so. But I tried to warn Samantha many times about my suspicions that my brother only used her to get to me. She didn't believe me, though. Honestly, I didn't believe myself. He was my brother and was supposed to have my back. Well, I figured he only wanted to draw Samantha's attention away from our friendship, and you know what? He succeeded, because not long after they started hanging out and she stopped associating with me. You know what? Things took a drastic turn. When I confronted her one day with my brother and his friends, and I almost begged her to choose our friendship or what? I reminded her how horrible my brother had been treating me, but nothing I said seemed to get to her. My brother had fed her lies after lies and has been feeding everybody else in our circle, and she believed it. It hurt more because I thought that she was different and cared about me. So I finally agreed and let my grandpa send me away to a boarding school. I probably should have allowed him to do that earlier. However, I've been naive during it just to think I could skid and get closer to my brother and would do anything to salvage our relationship. The next time I saw Samantha was in her wedding dress years later, standing in front of my brother as they exchanged their vows. I had initially declined to go to attend the wedding, but my grandpa would not hear anything of it. He was adamant that I would be there. He was pleased with Leo's marriage to Samantha. It was all business for him, as usual. He honestly did not care much about life except for the family name, the family business, and his heirs. I was insignificant since the only great thing I could do for him and myself was to marry rich. And so far, no eligible man, in his opinion, based on wealth and status, has come for me. I wasn't ever going to run the family business, and I was not a direct heir. I was merely an accessory or a commodity to him, so he should have just paid more attention to everything I had to say. Leonardo's marriage to my ex-best friend did not change anything between us. She didn't care enough about me to try to mend our relationship, and I was okay with it. I finished school, got admitted into Oxford University, and finally got a degree in accounting. Leo's been firmly against my grandfather funding my education, but luckily, he didn't see any reason why not. He made sure I have everything I needed while at school. Those few years away from them were probably my best years ever. I was lonely, but at least I didn't have to deal with my brother's loathing, and for the first time I felt fulfilled and even a bit proud of myself. It had always been my dream to be an accountant. My grandfather promptly offered me a job in his company, and things were finally going great. I made a few friends in college, and that's where I met my ex-fiancé, Edward. Well, he wasn't from a wealthy family like me, no, but loved him very much, and he made me happy. Well, Leo found out about my little relationship, and of course he was highly displeased because Edward isn't from old money. I don't know if that's the only reason he wasn't supporting the relationship, or if it was because he just doesn't want ever to see me happy. I tried talking to his wife to see if she could help convince Leo to accept my relationship with Edward. Still, she did not even give me any audience or time of day, so as it stood, I was trying hard to get on my brother's good side so he would not put any ideas into my grandfather's head. He listened to Leo a lot, and I knew that if they both refused to support the marriage, it would be a futile effort. Well, 3 years later, Samantha gave birth to their third child recently. She had twins the first time, a girl and a boy, and she and my brother had a pretty everyday life. I wasn't sure how I was supposed to feel about it. As most of you would have guessed, the marriage with Edward did not hold. My brother finally told our grandpa about our relationship, and he hated my fiancé. I cried enough about that, and I accepted that eventually I would have to watch the man I love move on with another because I was too afraid to do something crazy, like maybe run away with him, and damn the consequences. I knew I was not a disappointment, but deep down I wanted to make my family see and believe that, including my brother. I just wanted an everyday life like I wanted to be loved. Well, Leonardo's wife, Sam, decided to return to school and try getting a degree 8 months after she had their baby. That's not where the issue was, though, and the real problem was that my brother and his wife explicitly demanded that I assume the role of a babysitter whenever his wife went out to take her classes or lessons or whatever it is she did. I didn't know why they chose me when they could afford anyone that they wanted to. My brother probably saw it as another opportunity to try to humble or even humiliate me. My grandfather, guess what? He didn't even say a word, nothing of the request either. He expected me to be enthusiastic about it, and I was once again left without any options. I was expected to stay at their house whenever she was at the campus, and I could use this opportunity to at least get closer to my nephews and nieces. These expectations all stem from a desperate need to feel wanted and appreciated by my family. Well, I did move into their house. It was my first time ever since Leonardo never wanted to see me close to him, so I never really bothered to visit them even when the twins were born. The first few weeks were not that bad. I rarely saw my brother because he was always on business trips. Samantha was never at home, not even on the days that she was supposed to be. Babysitting isn't a job for the weak. I tried to bond with the kids, but nothing worked. I remember thinking I needed more psychological help than I thought I did because I was not able to relate to Leo's children on an emotional level. They could not possibly be that bad. I already knew that I was the wrong person for the job. I didn't know why they couldn't cut me slack. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So we are going to take a look at a few updates because it's about to take a totally different turn. Guys, let's jump into update number 1. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, take a second, hit that subscribe button, and here is your update. I told Leo about my decision to not take responsibility for his kids anymore. He told me I did not have any options but to keep doing it unless I didn't want to be a part of the family business in the future. I didn't understand what he meant by that. There was absolutely no correlation between wiping poo and pee and making baby formula and the family empire. Also, I did not get the threat because I was definitely a part of the family. And I had a degree that could get me a good job in the company. He explained that my babysitting the kids was going to be a determinant of whether or not I was capable of handling stricter duties in the office subsequently. Yeah, crazy, right? And yes, my grandfather asked this silliness. This was some training that I didn't ask for, and I was forced to stay and do their bidding or be cast out with nothing. Oh, and my brother also let me know very proudly, of course, that he could influence our grandfather's will and make sure that I was stuck out of it if I didn't behave. I didn't doubt him. The males in my family have the final say on everything, and so therefore I stayed and I endured. The worst was when the twins began to refer to me as the servant. When I started caring for them, they called me nanny or Isa, then suddenly they stopped. I pulled the girl twin aside and asked her, who said that they should call me that? She said her father, my brother, had told her that I was the servant, and that's what they should call me. To say I was gagged would be an understatement. I watched the kids change from sweethearts to daredevils. They put bleach in the washing machine with colored clothing. They peed on the floors and they cut out large chunks of all of their clothing. There's no stopping them. I was going crazy and I could not do it anymore. I made up my mind to finally leave, and I've had enough of my family, so to hell with them and their stupid inheritance. I waited for Samantha to get back home so I could leave, and even after everything, I still could not bring myself to leave the children alone, especially since the last one had not even turned 1 year old yet. Update number 2. She returned the next day, and I told her I was ready to leave. She told me to sit down and be useful for once to the family. She went as far as asking if I had not done enough by causing the demise of my parents. Yes, her words hurt like hell, and no, I didn't slap the crap out of her face like I wanted to. I just quietly went in and began packing my stuff. I already gave her the information, and it did not matter that she was being an absolute jerk about it. She and her husband and her bratty kids were no longer part of my problem. I headed to the kitchen for a glass of water to swallow my antidepressants when I heard Samantha on a call. I quickly halted at the calm tone of her voice. It sounded like she was trying to be very discreet, but that heightened my curiosity. I tiptoed forward and waited patiently as she kept apologizing to whoever was on the receiving side of the call. She seemed all fidgety and uncomfortable. I couldn't hear much of the next thing that she said because she moved further towards the balcony behind the kitchen. But I heard enough to make me rethink my next move. I could stay for a few more days or weeks if it guaranteed that I would find out what shady business that she dipped her snobby fingers into. Initially, I didn't know if my suspicions were unfounded, but I knew that there was something my brother's wife was hiding from him. It was so scandalous that it might destroy the family. I had no evidence yet, but I was determined to find some. Update number 3. So, my brother's wife was not all she pretended to be. From what I was able to gather from going through her stuff, she has an anonymous account under the name of non-existing charity organizations. She apparently donates to these organizations to help feed the less privileged, while in actuality she's just storing all the money there. Leonardo, he doesn't know this, and I'm still contemplating the perfect time to drop the bombshell on him. None of them were even surprised that I did not go on with my plan of leaving. They probably thought that they succeeded in breaking my spirit, and I let them wallow in that arrogance so I could marinate my plans. I won't be holding back when I eventually find out what I'm looking for, guys. It's time that I fight back. This is my family too, and I don't care who goes down with me as long as I finally get them all off their high horse. My grandfather recently had a heart attack, though we rushed him to the hospital in time. He's here. I went through my brother's phone while he was in the bathroom, and crap kept getting weirder. I said I was sure that he didn't know his wife had a considerable sum of money stored in an anonymous account, but I was probably wrong about that because he knows about it, and even about a whole lot more. I was a bit derailed by my grandpa's illness, but now I'm ready. I wanted to find out the person Samantha was talking to the other day, and what better way to do that than to go through the messages? She deleted a lot of them, so I couldn't find much. But I did find the number she was consistently texting on WhatsApp, and I took it down, though I'm going to text the number and we will see how that goes. Update number 4. Hey guys, I'm back with another update. So I texted the number and introduced myself as an old friend. I pretended we had both met at the subway station, and he said yes, he played along nicely. We even talked on the phone for a bit, and he believes that I'll see him soon enough. I asked him where he was from, and if he had any relatives, and he said that he was from Australia. He had one younger brother. What business did Samantha have with this man? Especially as she's married to my brother. I decided to clone her phone call app, just to get notified about any calls that she received. Yeah, I'm probably going too far, but duck it. I'm already too invested now, guys. So I do have an eerily good feeling about this. It's perhaps also the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me, well, at least for a while. About 3 days after I did my thing on Sam's phone, a call came through. It was the Australian guy, and as I listened to their phone call, I was shocked by what I heard. For a moment, the only thing I was sure of was that I needed a doctor. ASAP. I decided to conduct a DNA test on all 3 of Leonardo's children without his consent or knowledge, of course. I took their samples to a doctor. I needed to confirm what I heard. I was told to come back in 48 hours for the results, and I hoped it came back negative. I did. Was it terrible that I was looking forward to the downfall? Update number 5. The results came in, and the children are not Leonardo's. I'm not going to take a wild guess and claim they belong to the strange Australian man, but the DNA results show that my brother did not father those children. My wish was coming through, and you know what? They're all going down, even if I have to go down with them. First, I confronted Samantha. I utterly enjoyed the shocked look on her face when I told her everything that I knew. She tried to gaslight me by calling me a liar, until I brought out the results and dangled them into her face. She had sneered down her nose at me for years, whom I had once trusted and loved, and when I got bored of her tears, I let her know I was going to make sure Leonardo heard all about this. And she promptly stopped crying and then burst into laughter. Well, this reaction took me back. Even in movies, I know there's always a not-so-good plot twist whenever a character suddenly switches from being sad to happy, especially when confronted with such an ugly fact. Well, guess what? My brother, he was in on it too. It was a secret between them, and I found out he has a medical condition that prevents him from being able to get a woman pregnant. He and Samantha had planned to get her inseminated with a volunteer. It was a joint plan orchestrated by the 2 of them. So this is where the deception came in. She got a donor, right? But it wasn't just a donor from the bank. No, Samantha's been cheating on Leonardo, and all 3 children belong to the same man. The Australian guy. My brother doesn't know this, though. I wonder what he'll say when he finds out. Update number 6. Sam's been begging me not to let that last part out, and of course I didn't agree. This was my chance to get back at the family. Also, I was right the first time about the money in her anonymous bank account. Leonardo doesn't know that she's been saving up to run away with the kids. Yeah, that was precisely what she had planned to do with her lover in Australia. Sweet Jesus, this was better than anything I could imagine. I finally confronted my brother about my findings, and with no aim to embellish anything, this was the first time I saw him look humble. He had spent all his life walking on me, so I thoroughly enjoyed the different emotions inside of his face. Well, he did the same thing his wife did, apologized and pleaded with me not to let everything out. Well, I wasn't going to let them off the hook. I also knew I could be in danger the longer I stayed inside the house, so I just decided to leave that evening. There was one more person who needed to be in on the know of things, so I headed straight to grandfather's house with all my gatherings, hoping he would be conscious enough to understand everything I had to say. Final update. My grandfather could understand me perfectly, and he reacted exactly like I imagined him to. He had his lawyer summoned in about 30 minutes flat, and his will was changed right there in front of me. He made me swear an oath never to repeat any of the things I found out to the public because, of course, quote, the family name and image has to be protected. I also told him about the money in Samantha's account, and he didn't seem bothered. I felt a bit bad for him, though. It wasn't easy finding out your great-grandchildren didn't really have your blood coursing through their veins. I did know for sure that he would protect and take the secret to the grave, though. My grandfather did not just alter his will. He also had my brother completely struck out of it. He was just like any other random person on the street now, and it felt great not to be seen as the black sheep of the family. He would not be able to be the CEO after Grandpa died, and was automatically demoted in rank at the company. I knew he wouldn't just fire him. That would raise suspicion. Also, Leonardo's children were not a part of our family. He said this very, very clear, and I think my grandfather was mostly furious about my brother going behind his back to look for another man's seeds, just to soil the bloodline. It's ironic that almost everything my brother had taunted me while growing up was now happening to him. As for Samantha, you might be wondering, I really don't know what her fate is, and I can't bring myself to care. I stopped doing that a long time ago after I realized I would never be able to get them to value me. Our grandfather was not any better. He had not paid me any attention either, but at least I'm going to be CEO after him. Well, very soon I will be inheriting the family business. I don't know, but I think I'm finally able to prove them wrong, including my brother. I was indeed true blood, and he could not threaten me with the things that he could or could not influence our grandpa to do at my expense. I call the shots now. And I would start by making sure he never steps foot into the family mansion again. He's not a part of us, not as long as I'm concerned. I haven't heard much from Leonardo and his lovely wife for months now, and I can definitely live with it. My grandfather, well, he passed away 5 days after I told him everything. I'm currently the head director at the company and will soon take the reins as the CEO. Damn, it feels good. I did not get the love I always wanted from my family, but at least I got a kick-butt career. Did I go overboard with any of this? Or were my actions justified? So, this was a story where everything came together for OP. She was able to get a little bit of revenge on her brother for all the toxicness that she was going through, and she also became the CEO of the family business when she was told countless times that she was not good enough to be the CEO. And I want to know what you guys thought about her cutting ties with Leo and his significant other. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think cutting ties was a bit too far, considering they are family at the end of the day. Let's talk about it down below in the comment section, guys. Today's story was wild. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you want more daily stories, consider subscribing to the channel and checking out my other 2 channels as well, Mr. Reddito's Stories and Mr. Reddito's Revenge. With those 3 channels subscribed to you, you will never miss another juicy video. Guys, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, and of course remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.